All right, let's get right into it. When we think about bank security, our minds usually jump to things like firewalls, hackers, and encryption, right? But the real battle, the real challenge, isn't just about the technology. It's about what happens when cybersecurity collides with the day-to-day chaos of actually running a bank. And this image, right here, it just nails the core idea. Security isn't some add-on you can just bolt onto the side. No, it's woven deep into the fabric of everything a bank does. But, when you weave two different threads together that tightly, you're bound to get some serious friction. And that friction, well, it leads us right to this. It's this constant, unavoidable tug of war. You've got two teams, both absolutely critical to the bank's survival, and they're pulling in completely different directions. I mean, think about it. You've got the security team, and their entire job is to minimize risk, to lock things down, to say no. And then you have the operations team, whose job is to keep things running fast, smooth, and efficient, to say go. Their goals are just naturally at odds with each other. And this is not just some abstract idea. This happens every single day. Every new security control you add might slow down a critical business process. Every strict permission you enforce might stop an employee from being able to do their job effectively. And the big one, the one everyone argues about, taking a system down to install a critical security patch could mean disrupting services for thousands of customers. It's a constant balancing act. So, because of this constant push and pull, a lot of organizations, they start telling themselves a few convenient stories, a few dangerous myths, really, that create this false sense of safety. So let's pull back the curtain and bust three of the biggest ones. And look at this. We all know this picture, right? The good old checklist. We love them. They make us feel organized, like we've got everything under control. But this checkbox security approach, it can be a huge trap, masking some really deep underlying dangers. So, let's start with myth number 1. Hey, we passed our security assessment. We're good to go. The reality? Whoa, not even close. An assessment isn't a trophy you put on the shelf. It's the starting pistol for the real race, the hard work of actually fixing the problems you just found. Now, myth number 2 is probably the most common one out there. The idea that if you're compliant with all the regulations, you must be secure. But let's be real. Compliance is the absolute bare minimum. It's the floor, not the ceiling. It's the price of admission, not the grand prize. Real security goes way, way beyond just checking off a regulator's list. And the third myth? We just bought the latest, greatest security tools, so our program is super mature now. Wrong. You can have all the shiny new toys in the world, but if your management processes, your governance, and your culture are weak, you're building a mansion on a foundation of sand. Okay, so once we get past those myths, what do we find underneath? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The biggest dangers aren't the simple bugs you read about in the news. There's something much deeper, much more hidden. We're talking about structural risks. These aren't flaws in a single line of code. These are flaws baked into the very design, the history, and the processes of the entire system. And they don't just appear overnight. They build up slowly, silently, like cracks in a dam, over years. This image just says it all, doesn't it? One of the biggest structural risks of all is having these old legacy systems that are so critical to the business and so fragile that everyone is literally terrified to even touch them. We know they're vulnerable, but the fear of breaking something essential paralyzes us. So why does this happen? Well, these systems have settings that were configured ages ago, back when the top priority was just keeping the lights on, not fending off modern cyber attacks. Everything was done for stability, not security. So the mindset becomes, it's working, don't look at it, don't breathe on it, and for the love of God, don't try to patch it. And here's another huge structural risk, our data problem. Banks have mountains of data, logs, alerts, you name it. But it's often scattered across a dozen different systems that don't talk to each other. So the security team gets flooded with thousands of meaningless alerts, and the real threats, they get lost in all that noise. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a rock concert. The result? We usually only figure out what really happened after we've already been hit. So you have all these deep, dangerous, structural risks just sitting there like ticking time bombs. Why aren't they being addressed? Well, here's the real secret. At its core, this isn't a technology problem. It's a communication problem. Does this little exchange sound familiar to anyone? It goes something like this. The security team says, hey, this risk is critical. The business team immediately asks, okay, but will fixing it mess up our service? And then management comes in with the killer question.
Is anything actually on fire right this second?
And check this out. It's all about how you frame it. It's about translation. If you tell someone this setting doesn't follow best practices, their eyes are just going to glaze over. It sounds like boring IT homework. But what if you said, this setting could prevent us from recovering our entire system during a major outage? Well, now you've got their attention. That's not a tech problem. That's a business survival problem.
See, risk is a chain reaction, right? It starts small as a technical issue, but if you ignore it, it grows into an operational risk that can take down services. And if you ignore that, it can become a massive governance failure that brings down regulatory fines and destroys customer trust. It all connects. So how do we fix this? How do we break this cycle and bridge the gap between these worlds? It's not about a new piece of software. It's about a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about building a real partnership.
The goal can't just be about ticking boxes for the regulators anymore. The new goal has to be about building genuine operational resilience. And what does that mean? It's the ability to prepare for, respond to, and bounce back from a hit no matter where it comes from.
So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you move from just passively being compliant to actively managing risk. It means security reports aren't just for the IT department anymore. They're critical information for making big business decisions. And maybe most importantly, you reframe security. It's not a roadblock. It's the very foundation that allows the business to be stable and trustworthy in the first place.
And this right here is the goal. This is what good looks like. Real security, real resilience is when everyone, the tech experts, the operations managers, and the leaders in the boardroom are all looking at the same picture, speaking the same language, and pulling in the same direction. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about in your own world. When your security experts raise a red flag, is that message being truly heard and understood? Or is it just more noise, getting lost in translation?